Hello and welcome to the Family Business. I'm Joe Casiglione Jr. alongside Isaac Stoops. Exciting times around the Sooner Scoop Studios. OU coming off a 51-3 win against the Owls of Temple. Isaac, give us your quick thoughts on the opening season win.
Definitely was a good time. We looked electric. I hate to see what happened to Jalil. Hopefully we can get Nick back this week, add some much needed depth, overall. But it was a good time. I got to hang out with my brother before he went back to the practice squad for the Rams. So overall, really good time.
It's good to see him back. It's good for him to come back.
Yeah.
In between all that. Congratulations to him once again on practice.
Someone said there's been a Stoops on the sideline for the last I don't know how many years between my dad and then him playing. So it was kind of ironic, that he was able to make it.
And that's the first time now since
that was my first game day with him where he wasn't suited up. So it was cool.
That's cool. That's a good time. You got to show him what the non-athlete regular person life looks like. But same kind of thing. Not anything that's already been said. Offensive line, we'll see how that comes together. We actually talked about during the episode with our guest today about how Bill Beanbow is able to move around and kind of gel that offensive line moving forward. So it'll be very interesting to see. I mean, they got to get healthy. Need to be said. Yeah. Wide receiver position, you look up and you think they're really deep, and now they're looking a little thin. So got to get Nick Anderson back, got to get him back in the groove. And then I really would have liked to see the offense, get in a better groove in terms of offensively. Yes, they're keeping it vanilla. You're not going to want to put a lot on film, but at one point, you got to get in a rhythm. Tennessee's 3 weeks away. You got to get in a rhythm. Offense is kind of like hitting the baseball. You got to see the ball. You got to hit the ball a little bit. So we'll see how they move into week 2 if they get a few injuries back and so on.
These next 2 games too are a little bit tougher opponents. They're not Tennessee, but they're not pushover teams. So
it's a step up for sure. No offense to the Owls of Temple, but it should be a step. I saw the FPS ratings after week 1, and Temple was a little low. They were the worst FPS team. And so we'll see. But Houston and Tulane, it's a lot of exciting time around Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. You know what else is exciting? Having Home Field Apparel as the official OU apparel sponsor of Soonerscoop.com. If you head over to homefieldapparel.com, use code SCOOP, you're going to get 15% off your first order. And that's a great deal, especially because this past Friday they released these jackets. They're really clean looking. And if you head over to their website, it's sold out right now. But if you go and notify when they're in stock, you're going to get an email. And then you can use that code SCOOP. And they have a ton of good apparel in the meantime to go spend some money on. It's really exciting. Just make sure you're using code SCOOP. So if you head over to homefieldapparel.com, use code SCOOP, 15% off your first order. Today's guest, really I say, without a doubt, could have been one of the best running backs of Oklahoma history if he stayed healthy, and he still had flashes that rival any of the other running backs, and that's Rodney Anderson. We had Rodney Anderson head down to the Sooner Scoop Studios, sitting right where I am right now, and we're going to take you to that episode right now. We now welcome in Rodney Anderson to the Sooner Scoop Studios. Rodney, thanks for coming in to the show.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Thank you both for having me. It's a really cool setup.
Now we're happy to have you. Congratulations on being named New Voices Under 30 by the Sports Business Journal.
I appreciate it, but I can't take the credit, just by myself. I got a great team at SSP. That is Sooner Sports Properties for those who don't know. They're just great. Literally after I hung up my cleats, I hit up Coach Gundy because Nick's on the team. I can't help the team directly or be hired by the athletics department. And so that's how I got pointed towards Learfield. And they've been great ever since. I had to go buy a belt for this job. When you grow, when you're a football player, y'all know, you just show up in sweats. But no, they really helped me grow up and put my feet in the business world. So,
what's your technical job title? What do you kind of oversee right now? What do you do day to day?
I'm the manager of NIL Business Development. So what that means is anytime one of the schools or the athletic department's partners wants to partner with an athlete or do an NIL deal, I help facilitate that, make sure the athletes show up, make sure that they got their jersey or whatever their attire should be, that they get paid. And this is all, I'm basically an agent for the school's partners.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Which is beneficial for the student athletes because they're the ones that want to do NIL deals.
Has that changed at all with the new merging of the collectives? I know that recently there was kind of a change. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with it, but
yeah, no. Basically, Crimson and Cream has kind of phased out, and now One Oklahoma is the new preferred collective of the University of Oklahoma, and we do partner with them as well. We work with them very closely. They're not necessarily the same as like a Devon Energy or a Loves, but I guess similar. They're playing a very important role for the university right now, and they're doing a great job. So I hope they have continued success, and obviously we'll help them as much as we can.
I totally forgot you were on the Fowler Toyota commercial.
I made a little debut, I made a little
acting career.
Yeah. Fowler's been a great partner for us. Jonathan Fowler stepped up really in a big way in the NIL space and just for the university as a whole. But a part of that deal is to shoot commercials for them, and we've been doing like this Sooners on the lot type of concept. Like dry humor, you'll see it, here and there. But I did get an opportunity to play a customer in the commercial spot with my brother. So it was cool.
That's pretty cool.
Break out the IMDb profile page for you.
I'm saying, look, if it can lead to like just a little soap opera role, or I'll work my way up. I'm not opposed.
You're open to your own NIL deals. But how cool was it just being in the commercial with your brother, and then also just watching him on a day-to-day?
Dude, I've been saying it since he stepped foot on campus. It's just full circle moments, back to back to back to back. Because being on camp, anytime I'm on campus, it's already nostalgic. But then to see him walking around, it kind of closes the loop. It makes it that full circle. So, super proud of him. He's grown so. When I think of him in my head, I think of little baby Nick. Pumpkin, as we call him at home. I put that out on a Razor Burns. I put that out already, so I feel like I can say it now. He didn't really want me to, so apologies in advance, little bro. But like when I envision him in my head, I still think of Pumpkin. But then obviously I see him; he's a grown man. So
I think there's a large favorite for Toby Rowland to break that out on his first session. I could see it.
I don't know, dude. I'll probably have to fight Nick at some point, or he'll want to fight me if Toby ever does that to him. But
it's gonna happen.
All right. Well,
is he playing this week? I'm just kidding. We can't put you on the spot.
Look, I will say this. It wasn't anything serious that he's dealing with. Call it getting banged up at camp. We all know that that's a pretty tough time of the year, but I'm sure that. I know he was very disappointed about not being able to play, but he knows that, there's time and place. You got to be smart and all that. So, he'll be making his comeback soon.
Especially with how the schedule shapes out. The first 3 games, might be against lesser opponents, knock on wood. But so just keep it easy and then be ready for Tennessee. What do you kind of remember about his recruiting process of when he got the offer? I know he officially visited and he was committed to Oregon for a while, officially visited a number of big-time programs, but what was that recruitment process looking at? Because, you're, of course, wanting him to come to OU, keep the legacy, but when you got a number of offers like that. And
I actually didn't – I stayed completely out of his recruiting, like so much so that I didn't even – I don't know the schools he went and visited. I told him because I was like, Nick, look, if you got any questions, concerns, what was this like, what was that like, obviously – I'm your older brother, hit me up. And Ryder too. That's our middle brother for those who don't know.
Who played at Indiana and Ole Miss, correct?
Ole Miss first, and then Indiana for his last year. And he just finished up with the Giants. And so he's, looking for another team now. But I told Nick, dude, like I want to be a resource, but I'm for real not going to step in the middle of your process at all. I didn't want to be an influence. So I didn't mention Oklahoma to him once. Obviously, coaches are asking me about him and, fans ask me about him. And I told him I'm staying out of it. He committed to Oregon, and I was an Oregon Duck, as far as I was concerned with Nick, I'm like, hey, good for him. I'm going to support Oregon, especially when he's on the field. But then I guess similar to my process, I was committed to A&M, and something just told me, I was like, A&M is not it for me. That was probably the one moment that God really spoke to me, and I heard him, in my ear. And so I went downstairs in my childhood home and was like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to go to A&M. And so we hit up Coach Gundy, and then we hit up Coach Burns, who was the current running back coach for Alabama back then. And I ended up choosing Oklahoma, obviously. So similar to Nick, he just came down the stairs one day and was like, Mom, Dad, I don't think Oregon's it. Yeah. And, he hit up his older brothers for some advice, but like, still we weren't weighing in one way or the other. Do what's comfortable to you. You're the one that's got to stay there for however many years. It's got to be your decision, and blessed that he picked the right place.
Yeah, my dad kind of stayed out of our recruiting process too, like almost just like a resource there if you have questions, if you want to know what things are like obviously he's got a lot of experience in the space. But when did Nick come in? Was it when like Lincoln left and my dad was kind of filling in? Like, because I thought I remembered my dad visiting Nick in your guys' home, but I could have made that up. I just know he really likes your parents.
Well, we had a ton of run-ins, and not just football. Like, it was so weird. I ran into your mom. I went to, it was the craziest place, last year when we played Cincinnati.
I was there.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, obviously, I was with the Bengals for a little bit, and so my wife loved Cincinnati. So we obviously took the opportunity to go watch Nick play there. And I was getting coffee at this coffee shop in Hyde Park the next morning, and your mom walked in and got in line right behind me, and I was like, Miss Stoops, what the heck? And she's like, oh, Rodney. Hey.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but big fan of your family as well.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, I don't even remember what question you asked me.
I was asking if Nick came in when Lincoln was leaving. Like
yeah.
I couldn't remember. I know Kale obviously recruited him, but
yeah, Coach Gundy recruited him. He was on that team. I think so. If I remember correctly, because there was that little bit of like, dang, what's going to happen? Yeah. Am I going to stay here? And he definitely was there, because if Kale was there, he was there all the way through when Kale had to make his exit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I looked it up before the show, yeah. So according to the internet, Nick committed on November 1st, and so Lincoln left later that month, and so he was kind of in that lull period. Right. And then you also went through a coaching change yourself.
I did. Yeah.
I was on the team as well, but...
Sorry about that, guys.
We had Coach Stoops on last week to talk about it a little bit, but I was just always remembering like that, getting back from summer workouts, and we got that text from Julie. It was like, team meeting now, and then it broke on Twitter.
Well, I thought he got like hurt or something. They were like, I thought he died. People were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "What happened?"
Yeah, that was so weird, because we started getting texts about Bob stepping down or retiring or whatever. Like that morning or whatever it was. Like the news broke pretty early, and it started to become more and more. And I think once we got that text message, it was pretty final. We all kind of knew what was coming. Sitting in that team meeting, it was very weird to hear. But I mean, I get everybody's feelings towards Coach Riley. It was a very seamless transition, though.
Was.
From my perspective, I mean, we really didn't miss a beat. I feel like that season spoke for itself. Obviously, we didn't miss one, so I don't know. I think it was good until it wasn't.
It was set up, yeah.
It always is.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, it felt like we had a different coach, but it was like you even roll into fall camp, and it's like, has anything really changed? To an extent?
You almost and then Bob would still be around. He always is. He loves his place.
Last week, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he got the key to the city around here, so. Yeah. I mean, it really didn't feel like much had changed at all.
No, and then just to talk about your career a little bit, of course, you went through a number of injuries. And, of course, we were looking up a little bit, too, before the show. So it was ankle, then neck, right? And then, of course, the ACL, the terrible ACL.
Yeah.
I had a question about the neck, though. Did you ever – because that's a serious injury.
Yeah.
Did you ever consider, or they tried to talk you into retiring at that point? Or I remember when we got the news, we were still in the trailers, and we had that team meeting room in a trailer. And I remember just you were outside, of course, extremely emotional. Yeah. And when Coach Stoops told the team, we were all crushed.
I didn't know that y'all were told like that.
Yeah, it was a team meeting.
Oh, well, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
No, let's see what I remember. Because the thing you didn't mention was a lot of concussions, too.
Yeah.
So I have to take a second. I remember now. The neck was weird because when it first happened, I got up and ran off the field and was kind of like, I got a stinger. I'm good. I was trying to pop it and stuff, treating it like any other, bump or bruise. And then I went back out there, and it was a run play. And Baker checked out of it. And I don't think Bake knows, but he may have saved my legs. Yeah, my life, my leg, whatever. But he saved a serious injury. He ended up checking me to a swing. And so I didn't get the ball. I didn't do anything. But when I was running that swing route, I went to turn to look for the ball, and like my whole body went with my neck because it hurt so bad. And so it just kept getting stiffer and stiffer. That next morning was terrible. Got the MRI. It was a fracture of my C5, C7 vertebrae or whatever it was. And yes, there was definitely a serious situation because surgery was on the table. But I felt weird about opening up my neck like that, putting screws and rods in. Like I knew for just my style of running, there was no way that I was ever going to be able to be the back that I wanted to be with rods and screws in my neck. Mm-hmm. So I think we sat down with, it was Dr. McGinnis maybe. And
shout out Don.
Yep, shout out. He's the one that did my ankle too. Still feels great to this day. But no, it was a very serious conversation. My parents were there, and it was just kind of, let's put a neck brace on it and see how it heals. And it healed fine. I wake up and it's a little sore here and there, on any given day. But
when the weather changes a little bit,
which happens to my wrist.
Yeah, which is all the time in Oklahoma. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I think I made the right choice. It felt great while I was playing. It feels great now, minus like the little aches and pains here and there. But I don't know. It was very weird. I'm glad I got to finish playing. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember first time I was still in high school and you guys were in the trailers, but I remember I think my first time seeing you, I saw you in a neck brace and I was like, damn, what happened to him? Like I was like,
your boy broke his neck.
Because I'm playing football too, and I was kind of nervous too. I was like, but just anything can happen on any freak little incident. What kind of got you through that? What kind of mindset do you have to have when dealing with something that fragile?
Well, I don't know. It was piled on. I feel like I could really get emotional, just thinking about it. But it was tough because I got there early in spring of 2015, and was really looking to be a contributor going into the spring and into the fall. But then my leg happened, and so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm a freshman. Then my neck happened, and I'm like, dude, come on, and a neck too. This is crazy. But I really just leaned on my parents. My parents were the first ones to know, and they dropped what they were doing and they came up to Norman that second. And then my faith really got me through it. I would have to say if I had to give credit to any one person, my parents, obviously they're always in my corner, but then my wife, who was honestly, we weren't even dating at that point. We ended up being boyfriend, girlfriend, but she was a trainer for the football team. That's how we met. I was in a neck brace and she was the one on, driving me to class or whatever. She'd hook up my,
a little bit.
What?
You smooth talked to her a little bit.
We just struck a conversation.
If you could hit on her with a neck brace and be good, you knew she was the one.
That's it. I hadn't had any success because of my injuries at that point in time. But then I ended up forming this relationship, this unsuspecting relationship that now she's my wife. And it's crazy to think about. But I don't know. I think a mix of a bunch of things, but helped get me through that. But I think she played a huge role. Oh, my mom. Sorry, I'm watching the TV. I shouldn't watch the TV.
No, that's a good moment right there.
That's cool though. Maybe at least a positive came out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Again, all those injuries. I found myself asking and then quickly pulling back. Why me? Why does this keep happening to me? I do everything right. I try as hard as I can. I'm busting my ass in workouts, in class, in therapy, and meetings, just trying to compete with dudes like Samaje and Joe. A. Ross, D. Brooks, Dimitri Flat. I'm really trying to compete, and all these things keep happening to me that are outside of my control. But I think that was the lesson I had to learn. I can only control what I can control, even in those situations when that control or a piece of that control gets taken away from me.
Yeah, that's tough. This week, it was announced that Jalil Frug, broke his foot, same foot. And so I had to ask too. As a guy who's dealt with a number of injuries, no situation's ever the same. So, but just something kind of to mindset him. So maybe I want to reach out to him. And
yeah, I actually saw him in the locker room while the game was still going on, third or fourth quarter. And I just told him dude, hey, if you need anything, ear to talk to, shoulder to cry on, whatever, just hit me up and let me know. I never want to like be that guy that's like want to sit there and have like a devotional with him in the locker room after he just got hurt. But I do like to tell guys like, dude, I understand, you know, whether this is valuable information to you or not. I understand what it's like. And if you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. And I'll leave it at that. You know, my door's always open for athletes going through something.
Now that we got all the sad things out of the way, we're going to talk about all the good things, all the good moments you had in a Sooner uniform. Couple games that stuck out. You know, I was on the team, so I got to watch you a little bit. I was in the same running back room. Shout out that running back room.
Shout out. That was a fun room.
It really was. We're going to talk about too. Everybody wants to talk about, of course, the quarterback room and the success it had.
That's a lame room.
I know, but you talk about the running back room with you, Kennedy, Trey Sermon, Marcellus, Abdul, Dimitri, Carson Meyer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but that was the room I remember because Boulware had everybody.
Yeah.
We were all in there.
Yeah, no, it was a really fun room. A lot of like serious moments, funny moments, and everything in between. But I don't know, like everyone does want to know what's in the quarterback room, and it's just X's and O's and boring shit. Like, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to curse. And just a bunch of boring stuff. But I mean, I feel like the running back room was, you know, we learned a lot for sure. But
I would have loved to be a fly on the wall with Boulware.
So one of the most intimidating things was Boulware. Each meeting we had, it was mostly in the off season, but one player had to bring a song. So you had to play a song for the whole.
You had to sing it too, right?
Yeah, for the whole room. You had to sing the song, and then everybody at the end would like vote if it was a good song or not.
Yeah,
you'd get grilled
if it was hot or not.
Hot or not.
Hot or not.
Hot or not.
Yeah. What was your song?
It was a Billy Currington song.
Oh yeah. I do.
Pretty good
was
at
it,
drinking beer. Of course. I think I passed. Like it was pretty close.
No,
but I think I got hot.
Yeah, no, you passed.
Like 4-2.
You passed. I mean, as long as so we would present our song, we'd sing it, or at least what we knew. And like the rule was, you can't bring in a song that you know everybody likes and not know the words to it. So it had to be a song that you actually knew. And it didn't matter how many downvotes you got, but as long as your song was voted hot, then you're good. And I remember you got voted hot. You're good.
I was stressing for that too. I remember I was picking Jackson Yules, who was also in the room. I was picking his brain. I was like, what should I do? What should I do? I'm like, they are all bringing these songs. I'm like, I don't know what this white kid should bring.
It sounds like NFL training camp. Like it's
I mean,
at a small scale, small scale.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I think what we're looking for mostly was, you know, it was more of a personality check.
Correct.
You know, like, are you going to come in here and try to put on a front, or are you going to come in here and show your true colors? Even if you get voted not hot, you were still true. Yeah, you ride with it. You're true to yourself. Yeah, that was a good time. I picked International Players Anthem. Yeah, International Players Anthem by Outkast and UGK. That's my song to this day. I walked out to my wedding to that song.
So you definitely
you're committed. Yeah,
mm-hmm. That's me all the way.
But that was a good running back room. I mean, guys who had a lot of success. Of course, a number of injuries, but you know, T. Serm.
Oh yeah,
Marcellus Sutton wasn't one of the most athletic guys on the team.
He's a freak.
Dooley, Dimitri, of course, his career speaks for himself.
Yeah.
Carson Meyer. Yeah,
I liked Carson a lot as a
Carson.
player. Like he's super underrated in my opinion.
He's a Tulsa kid, right? Union?
Correct.
Yeah.
Union. But he came in the year after Dimitri left, and he really played a nice role in that 2018 year, Orange Bowl year.
Yeah.
He stepped in.
And he ended up, didn't he play for the Jaguars too for a little
bit? I think he got
while?
a training camp invite.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to talk about the quarterback room. Shout out the running back room.
Yeah. Shout out. I also hope Coach Boyer, you're doing all right wherever you are. I think he's in Kentucky right now.
Is
he really?
Yeah, running back coach at Kentucky.
Both my uncles are there. That's funny.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, dang, dude! I'm telling you, the world is already small, but then the world of sports just makes it even smaller, which is crazy.
The web of coaching, our former players.
Yeah,
like BV played for my dad at Kansas State.
That's
Some
crazy.
people don't even know that. Yeah,
that's insane.
It's so small.
But a couple career highlights. The other day, the Oklahoma football account just posted the TCU game. This was before the season start. 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 2 receiving.
Yeah.
You had some really good moments that year, but I remember like people looking up. I was like, dang, this dude could win a Heisman. Like the following year, like this dude. I remember that game watching some. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's so weird looking back at these highlights now. Obviously, it was a great time. I remember the experience and like the feeling. I loved like running into the end zone. A lot of times, if the emotions were really high, I would yell or whatever. But I'd always take a second or two to, I'd definitely throw the hooks up. Shout out Omega Psi Phi, Pi Delta chapter. But see, I'd always take a second to look into the crowd and just try to take in that moment. Because this is after a lot of serious injuries. Mm-hmm. And I just really wanted to make sure that I was taking it all in, because now, I don't know, dude, like once you're on the other side, I don't know how I could put pads back on and really do that for a living again. I feel like for me at least, it took 20 something years of mindset and training and hard work to get to that point and be that successful. Now that I've had some years off the field, I don't know, they're good memories, but it's a past life.
That, just looking at that team right there, the O-line specifically, but there's so many NFL guys on there. Like, that team was, one of the most, if not the most talented teams OU's ever had. A lot of people were talking about, week one we're a little banged up coming out of camp, like our O-line, specifically at center. But like, how important is, that O-line? How close were you with them, or still are?
Super close, and still very close with quite a few of them, actually. I was talking to Drew Samia this morning, if not yesterday. No, it was this morning, right before I came to work. Hitting him up. Me and Bobby Evans are still very tight. Jonathan Alvarez. I talk to OB every time every chance I get. We don't talk a ton, but
he's too big time now.
Yeah. No, those guys, they lay so much on the line for the team, especially for me though, and all the success that I had. Everybody wants to talk about Rodney Anderson and the 4 touchdowns TCU, Rodney Anderson and his, success against K-State, or Rodney Anderson in the Rose Bowl, whatever. Rodney Anderson wouldn't have been anything without the O-line that was blocking for him. Those guys, they made my job very easy. And talk about an underrated line. Like, when that season started, we were not, there was a lot of question marks around that O-line. And I feel like they proved everybody wrong really quick, because the holes I was running through were wide.
Yeah, you have Ben Powers and Wren was center.
Eric Wren, when he slid in too. Because I remember Alvy played, Alvy got hurt.
Yeah.
And then Eric Wren slid in. And people do forget, it took a while for that line to gel. And that's with future NFL
gives you
players.
Hope. Yeah,
every single one of those guys ended up in the league. And except for Eric, who was coaching. He played for a little bit, and now he's coaching in the league. And so it's like, those dudes were special. Of all the talent, to your point, that we had on that team, let's not forget about the O-line, because those guys were some dudes.
100%.
You mentioned the Rose Bowl. We got to talk about it. It's still the hardest loss in my life, and not to harp on it, but where does that rank?
Not to
harp on it, but we're going to talk about it. Where does that rank? Where does that rank in your
I get it. We lost. It wasn't the greatest, outcome that everybody was wanting, but probably my favorite game.
The best atmosphere, and that's including Tennessee.
Dude,
just the moment.
It was just. It's hard to really explain it. I will explain it, but it's not going to do it any type of justice. It's like taking a picture of the sunset and trying to show somebody on your phone.
Had to be there.
Yeah, you just had to they're just going to look at it and go, "Wow, that's really nice." Yeah. But if they were there, they'd be like, "Oh man, I get it." Sun was setting, jets flying over. I remember being in the tunnel, and I always got super psyched up before games. But I was in the tunnel, and I saw the jets fly over, and they kind of disappear, into the distance, and it was just a beautiful sky. That stadium is very spread out. It's not like a tall stadium. It's very spread
symmetrical
out.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you just can't get a lot. You can't replicate that anywhere, And so I don't know. I got super psyched out before that game, just emotions so high,
It was New Year's Day too.
Yeah. So. And once we touched the field, I just felt like that's where we were supposed to be. It felt like I was supposed to run the ball in that game, and I don't know. I was just feeling it.
The grass was different too. I remember walking out. I'm like, what do they do with this grass out here? Just
grass grows
soft.
different in California. Wow.
Exactly. You said nothing does justice to it, but I mean, yeah, the game.
I remember I had because I mean you guys couldn't because you had to play the next day, but I had gone to One Oak the big club the night before for New Year's. So I was just trying to shake back all day and make sure my mom didn't like notice how like I was feeling. Because I remember her being like, "You better not like be not feeling good." I was like, "All right."
I shake it off. We probably could have used a night at One Oak after the game, but we had to fly back. I remember because the way the NCAA mandates off days and stuff, that we wanted. Link wanted to use our off day the next day, and so we flew back right after the game. Typical for everybody watching. Typically with bowl games, playoff games, you always fly back the day after. It's the only game of the year you fly back the day after. But we flew back the night after. I mean, the night of.
That's a long one.
It was brutal.
We didn't get home till like I was probably getting my stuff out of my locker at like 3 a.m.
I was gonna say with the time change too, like
I could be off an hour or two, but it was late. I remember hitting the pillow and waking up. And it may have been like 3 p.m. the next day. Like, I don't know.
No, it was tough. And then I had to shake. I don't think I shook it off for like 2 days. Still haven't shook it off, but had to talk about it. But nothing does justice to the scene. Still one of the greatest games. Still probably
the hardest part was watching Georgia play Alabama.
Disgusting. And then it's just kind of one of those things too that
I'm just looking at them like, bro, I'd have ran all over. Whatever. All right, I'll stop.
No, exactly.
But yeah.
Matchup wise, I remember watching the game and we're like, we would have won this. And that's like full confidence, not trying to be.
I hate to be like the woulda, shoulda, coulda guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, we woulda.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I remember watching. I actually kind of wanted to throw up.
Yeah.
Dude, I was with all my friends. I mean, because I was back in Katy just hanging out. And I was with my childhood friends, and we were watching that game. And I'm having a good time. It's even when other teams are playing, I don't really care, whatever. But that one, I wasn't a good time that night. I was just mad, fuming.
Straight up not having a good time.
Not having a great time.
Then the next year, though, first game, ran crazy over FAU, and then UCLA, of course. Was it first quarter that you sustained the injury? But I just remember you were...
End of first or like beginning of second quarter?
Okay. I remember explosively, like, of course, you were a great player. Your junior year, fantastic. But I remember you had a different gear the next year. I felt like you... I felt like you had that next gear.
Yeah. And again, like I don't really like to be the I would have been blah 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 guy. But I did feel really good that year. I don't know. I do think I'd gotten faster. I felt stronger. And even more than that, I think I felt comfortable. It took that 2017 year. I didn't play for like half the year or half the season. Baylor, when we played Baylor, I didn't touch the field once. I was just like, I was so mad. But then once I finally did start getting my touches, it took a while to get into that groove. I always talk about it on the radio, like for a running back, I believe it's such a philosophical position. There's not going to be one style that's the same as the next. And I feel like I was really starting to come into Rodney Anderson in that Georgia game. And then I got to pick back up at FAU. And I don't know. I was feeling really good.
I'll say this because you won't because you're too humble, but he would have been in New York. He would have been in New York. But I
remember preseason with Coach Wiley loved you because you could. He would say make the church bells ring when you were doing incline with the heavy, this like crazy heavy.
I'm not gonna like. I really liked Coach Wiley. Benny Wiley.
He's a good guy.
I think. I will say. I think with all due respect to both parties, I do think Coach Schmidt is a way better fit for OU. I mean, he's got that tradition. He knows that, that standard, and even more so than that, like, Benny, like he could get those, metrics, but I just think it's something different when you have like that feel or that connection with the program, the players,
he's
the
got
city.
History here too.
Yeah. Benny, I don't know, like that dude, for me personally, he's the guy that I needed to take that next step. Yeah.
Sure.
It's because he loved you.
Yeah.
He loved the Stars. I have nothing but respect for Coach Wiley because I played under him and actually worked under him a little bit too after that. But I have nothing but respect. Maybe some philosophy differences, but he knows a lot more than I do. But I'm just saying, like, he loved the Stars, man. Like him, CD, Kyler, K9. Those were his guys.
If you could throw up weight, he just loved. Like B. Will was a freshman in my class, and he was in there like not lifting freshman weight, and he loved B. Will, bro.
Yeah,
it paid. Look, he's with the Niners now, so maybe he can just spot him like a mile away. I don't know.
It was just for me, it was like I loved the off season. Like it was almost. I'm not gonna say more than the season. That's BS. But I just really love the offseason. I value my personal time, as everybody does. But I really, really value my personal time. And I loved lifting weights. I loved competing like with metrics, like if I can bench more than you, or if I can run faster than you, or if I can finish these trippers quicker than you, whatever the case. Like, I don't know. I just really loved getting into that mindset of that mode. And I think Benny really loved that too. Yeah. And I think we bonded a lot over that.
The summer was the season was great, but the summer was my second favorite.
Summer was great. Well,
like the season approaching, but you're just working out. It's hot. You're sweating. You're getting fit. You're going to the pool.
You got 7 on, but like for the most part, you got to have a lot of more free time. Like to, like,
I will say, I don't feel like the guys have that same free time, and maybe it's for the better. You know, they do need to lock in, but I think the current BV regime that they have right now, I mean, they're busy a lot.
They're busy.
They're tied up.
I remember
a ton.
Drake and DG saying that last year. Like,
yeah, and I bet they would know, better than anybody because they had Riley and then they had
they've had both. Yeah,
BV. So I don't know. Like, and it's all great stuff. I don't know. I just really value my personal time. Like true personal time. Like off day doesn't mean that I'm up at the facility. Like off day meant that I'm doing whatever Rodney's doing.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Being able to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Compartmentalize. There we go, if I can say it. Yeah. But I feel like towards the end of Riley's tenure, he was kind of heading towards that direction too. We had a lot more walkthroughs. We had a lot more planned, unofficial, voluntary.
Yeah, it's
scouts.
It's almost it's like your off days now. And I feel like it's probably across the country, but it's like your off day isn't really your off day. Like you're still. It's not. You're still doing something.
I do, and it's the same for coaches too. While we're talking about it, just think about when we were being recruited. Like, dude, coaches.
There was actually like an off season from recruiting. They didn't have to go.
But bro, when Nick was being recruited, coaches was sliding in his DMs. They was FaceTiming him. I would have hated that. I would have absolutely hated that. I didn't take calls after like 5:00. If I'm at the dinner table, don't call me. And now they're just like best friends with their coach before they get there. I don't know, just different time.
So I'm assuming you never thought about coaching?
Hold on. Hell no. Okay. No. Especially the way it is now. Like to that point, I love the game, love the university. But I don't know. Maybe if it was a situation where I can connect with players or, be a resource for them, I always want to be available to the program.
Like support staff or something.
Yeah. But having a recruit 365 days a year, I'm
My
good.
dad doesn't think, he was like, people ask him all the time. He's like, not how it is now. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah. Dude, it makes sense when, legends like your dad steps down or like Saban, Nick Saban stepping down. Like, what? You're going to leave the dynasty, Bob? What? Dude, if you had the work schedule that they had, y'all would be stepping down too. It's just not how it used to be. It's a lot more demanding. And that's for some guys, and it's not for some. So it is what it is.
Like if my dad was, if it was 20 years ago, it'd probably be no big deal to him because you're still young, you're hungry, you're chasing that. But for guys who have done it, it's like, what more do I have to give? Because it's just more demanding, like you said.
Yeah, dude. And
I don't know if you heard my dad on the last week's. He said he drove by Jimmy Austin every single game day, and he goes that last year he goes. I started to say, that doesn't look so bad. He used to think he was like,
no, that's real talk though. Like you have to know yourself, and you can't put yourself in any situations where you can't thrive, like or you're not going to be your best.
Right.
When you start, checking out that golf course on your way to a game, it's time to step down. And like the true like legends, like your dad, they know when to make that. They don't try to hold on. Mm-hmm. They know when it's time to make that transition. So big respect for
and they have
people
this, like you said, the seamless transition. Like Lincoln, like you guys didn't take a step backwards, and that's what he wanted.
Yeah, I mean, when you're honest with yourself and you are just truthful with everybody and transparent, there's not much that can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. That's facts.
It was an unselfish decision. Of course, he's making a decision to retire, but he gave up maybe the most loaded roster he had in the last 5-6 years he had in his tenure.
Yeah.
So
I was
looking back on it.
Yeah, dude. I used to talk to I still will say this sometimes, but especially back when I was playing, and you'd get into the conversation, especially like with your dudes, your best friends and stuff. how long are you going to do it? Like, how far do you want to take it? I always said, like, either injuries or interest was going to take me out of it. Like, I was going to stop playing whenever I either couldn't play anymore or if it stopped being fun to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm never going to be one to put myself in a situation where I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. As soon as I lose the passion for it, I can't stay and do it because I feel guilty. Like, I know that I'm just a weight for everybody around me.
It's like a have to instead of a get to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You don't want to do anything half-ass. Like, why even do that,
Well, Rod, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, dude, that was fun.
That was a lot of good insight. Yeah. We'll plug you in for another 6 months from now as another guest.
I'm down.
Part 2.
We're scheduling guests like the dentist now. We're like, all right, when's your next?
No, it's actually, here's your next tune-up. We'll send your secretary.
Do I get a little card that has the date on it that I come back? Yep. Okay, cool. I'll forget, dude. Concussions.
Concussions. Gosh, don't want to get checked for that. Any questions for us?
How are y'all doing these days?
Good.
I think first.
Yeah. Life's been pretty good so far. Yeah. I mean,
I feel like
busy. I was getting kind of more involved in the sports world. Has been fun for me. I was working oil and gas corporate, which was good experience, but like it's not what I'm passionate about. Like you were just speaking to.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I love doing this.
Yeah.
I work kind of in sales in the finance industry, and so very thankful that that's kind of flexible.
We're not making CD money, but we're doing all right.
Yeah, exactly. We're having a good time.
Yeah. No, I just, I feel like you always got to check on your guys.
For sure.
Even you don't talk every day. Like, I make sure everybody's doing good.
No, I see them all the time. And
I saw you at PetSmart the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a week or two ago. Yeah.
I must be hiding from Rodney. He sees everybody but me. My mom, he sees you.
I know, dude. Where you been at?
I don't know. Around.
Yeah, I've seen you 4 times in the last 3 weeks. Yeah. Outside Fuzzies, PetSmart.
Oh, Fuzzies too.
In the game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a given. But for everyone watching, we appreciate you. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us help you. And we'll catch you next week with another edition of The Family Business. Remember to keep it in the family.